Hello everyone and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. Bulls 30, Lions 25. A very, very good encounter. Definitely the best game of the weekend and pretty much what we were kind of hoping to see in the Sharks versus the Cheetahs in terms of some good rugby being played is what we actually really saw tonight between the Bulls and the Lions. And with the real Jake White, please stand up. That it was a proper Jake White performance. The Bulls, not necessarily very expansive, not necessarily playing this amazing running brand of rugby today, but back to their guns, did the basics very well, and were just a lot more clinical than the Lions, who once again kind of just get that compound on mistakes, and it's just they don't play badly for most of the thing, but just basic stupid errors which just let them down time and time again. You think of the try that the Bulls scored, you think of lineouts lost right at important moments, you think of big scrums lost in important moments. And I mean, the Lions were largely quite good. You know, they'll take a lot of positives away from that performance. But the Bulls were just better. You know, they deserved their victory today. And you know, a lot of credit goes to the Bulls for just doing what they do best. Before you get stuck into the game and sort of pick it apart, please do consider subscribing. Bottom right hand corner there, smash like as well. Jump in the comments. Let me know what you think. In the comments, I want to know what you thought of the match in terms and what your takeaways were. Right, so let's look at the match itself. So, first half, Lions probably surprised a lot of people. They came and they played very, very well. And I think that they were under a bit of early pressure, but grew into the match and suddenly were playing with a lot of confidence. And I think, you know, that Morne van den Berg try, after a big driving, a decent driving more brought in, and he had the presence of mind to notice the slight sort of lapse in the concentration of defense dove over. But, you know, one area, and I think when it comes to Team of the Week, which we'll announce in the coming week, the Lions starting front row was brilliant today. Absolutely brilliant. You think of Carlu Sardi, Jakob Asaki, and Steve Satoli against the likes of Jacques Van Rooyen, very experienced player, former Lions player, Trevor Nyakane, World Cup winner, and yet the Lions destroyed them in the scrums throughout the entire match. So, I mean, big ups to Steve Satoli and Carlu Sardi. I thought Carlu Sardi was terrific. I think, you know, we talk about the fact that there's so much depth in our props, and the fact that, you know, you've got the likes of Frans Malherbe, you've got the likes of Trevor Nyakane. You know, there's so many good props in and around the country, but I genuinely think that Carlu Sardi is starting to push for a position in that box squad. He's so solid at scrum time, probably one of the best scrummagers in the country at the moment, and he's getting better and better in open play. So props onto him, because he, excuse the pun, he is really, really growing very well. But you look at the breakdown of the game, and I mean, you look at it, so obviously in the first half, Lions scored a couple of tries and were looking good, but then the Bulls, then in the early second half, pretty much just camped out in the Lions half, and the Lions struggled, but kept themselves in it. And then a bit of a moment of madness from Alton Yankees, where he threw a very 50-50 pass after the Lions managed to force an error off the line out, which Stedman Gans was brilliantly awake to and dotted over. I think he's looking very good. And what was interesting, and the commentators alluded to this, is how many sevens players are successfully making the transition to 15s at the moment. You think of Werner Koch, you think of Angelo Davids, you think of Stedman Gans. A lot of sevens players are starting to play some very good rugby in the 15s. But if you look at the difference over here, so both teams scored three tries. But what's quite telling is, you know, you look at the meters carried, Lions 278, Bulls 147. You know, obviously Lions playing a much more expansive, trying to play a much more expansive game of rugby. A lot more passes, a lot more offloads, a lot more defenders beaten, a lot more carries, you know, which is fairly standard. But the Bulls were very solid. 13 missed tackles with 95 made. The Lions that had missed only 8 tackles but only made 61. So much better defensively from in terms of what we've been seeing in the competition. We've been seeing some very poor defending, and I mean, you looked at the Griquas match today, who missed every 1 and 3 tackles. It was a very good defensive effort from sides today, and that's why I think it. If you think of last night's game between the Cheetahs and the Sharks, it's been quite sloppy, quite just not particularly good. Today was almost the opposite, where it was decent rugby and it was just a game of fine margins. You know, it was some fantastic contest. I mean, I think the Bulls, turned out to be a fairly defining penalty. when they, despite them being up against it in the scrums, had a scrum in the Lions 22 and suddenly won a penalty, which Mornay Steyn then slotted over, which finally saw the Bulls convert points. And that was a pivotal moment in the game. What was a bit weird was the kicking from the Lions. 23 kicks in play, Bulls 31, but that's fairly standard. I think the Lions kicking today will let themselves down a bit, kicked a lot of possession away, which for a side which is known for keeping the ball in hand and running around was a bit odd and a bit frustrating at times. Bulls just dominated the breakdown, were very, very solid there. Lots of set pieces. Lineouts were much better for Bulls than the Lions, but both. I mean, I think everybody did lose them, but scrums won. Lions very, very good, and you can't take that away from them. And then discipline-wise, 13 penalties to 12, much of a muchness. I think the Lions discipline cost them because I think if you look at the penalties where they conceded most of their conceded most of their penalties, it was in pretty big and important areas, and I think that did come to bite them in the end. If you look at some individual players, I'd like to single out Wandisile Simelane. What a try he scored. He is a live wire. I think that was a problem for the Lions, the fact that they didn't manage to get quick enough ball to be able to use Wandisile Simelane very much. But I mean, he made, in his 8 carries, beat 8 defenders and scored a fantastic try where he beat about 4 players in himself. So I thought he was very, very good. Alton Yankees was a bit quiet today, so struggled to get into the game. And the other players for the likes of the Lions there was a couple of hard workers up front. Steve Satolia worked very hard. As I said, Carlos Sardi was very good, didn't miss a tackle. Marvin Orie made a lot of tackles, didn't miss much there. Len Massane was fairly industrious. And then on the Bulls side, I thought Travis Ishmael was fantastic. Completely dominated the Lions in the air. He is a very physical and big player, and today he really did stand up. I thought he was particularly good. I thought Malcolm Starden worked very, very hard, made a lot of tackles, as did Nizam Khan when he came on, and a couple of big injuries for the Bulls, and they're hoping that it won't be too bad. But Albert Lowe obviously going off very early, Jacques Van Rooyen as well, and Trevor Indikane, and I think it's a bit of a worry because they've got a bye next week, so they get 2 weeks for these players to come back, but after having already lost Kira Aplon, to lose Trevor, to lose Jacques Van Rooyen, and to lose Albert Lowe would be very big. But if you look at some of the other players I thought were particularly good, I thought Mornay Steyn was fairly solid. I thought Ivan van Zyl was slightly quieter than he was last weekend. But Dwayne Vermeulen was solid as a rock, as always, made quite a lot of tackles, was very good there, very good at the breakdown. It's just a bit of a weird game sometimes, and just very tight. That's why it's difficult to sort of pick out particular players. So I thought it was a fairly good team effort from the Bulls, and there was a try that Curtly Orange scored, where I think the comments made by the commentators was that belongs to all 14 or all 15 players, and I think that's fairly true. I think it was a very good team effort from the Bulls, and it was just making their moments count. And we keep saying that against Lions, and that's where the experience comes in, because the Bulls are a much more experienced outfit than the Lions. The Lions are a very young side. You've got the likes of John Lombard, Steon Pienaar, who I thought was particularly good, some fantastic running there. Simelane, all very young in the game. You've got the experience of Burger Oendal, Cornels Kosan, but Morne van den Berg, pretty inexperienced. Len Massane hasn't been around for a lot. Vincent Tuka still quite young and new to it. MJ Pulser, pretty young. Marvin Orie. So, you've got 2 pretty experienced players in impact. Even the likes of Carlos Sardi is still quite inexperienced. So it's a very, very inexperienced Lions team compared to the Bulls, where you've just got experience absolutely everywhere. You've got Cornel Hendricks, who's been through it all. You've got Mornay Steyn. Ivan van Zyl has been around. Dwayne Vermeulen doesn't get much more experience than that. Marco van Staden, Trevor Indikane. There's just so much experience, and that matters, because when it comes to the crunch moments, key moments that win you games, they've got that level-headedness to be able to say, this is how we're going to play it, this is how we're going to see it out. And it makes a very big difference. But I think credit goes to the Lions, because, look, the Bulls will probably go on to win the Super Rugby Unlocked. I think the way they're playing, I don't see anyone beating them. But the Lions certainly gave them a very, very good game. And I think that for a union with so many youngsters, a very young coaching staff as well, there are a lot of positives to take out of that game. The Bulls, on the other hand, they keep marching on. They'll take a lot of heart out of the fact that they can be better. I think that is what's scary in many ways. I think the Bulls could probably be better. and yet they're still winning the results. They're grinding out results, and when they are very good, when they are at their best, and teams don't bring their A game like the Stormers and the Sharks did, they can put a lot of points on a lot of teams. So Bulls are back, I think, probably established as the number one union in the country. Lions gave it a good shot, and they'll take half of it. They've got one more match in Super Rugby Unlocked next week. Then they move into the bye, and then we are fully focused on Currie Cup. So let me know in the comments what you thought of the game. Please do consider subscribing, smash a like as well on the video, and share it with your friends, and let's try and establish a bit of a community. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Stephen Pettit, and I'll chat to you very, very soon.